Hey, it's Amelia. Today I'm doing my first update, my second video on the Pantastic ladies throwing shade, I think. I always know what project I'm doing when I'm about to film and then I forget what it's called. So I haven't updated in like over a month because I've gone through 5 weekends worth of eyeshadow, but I haven't done, I did skip a week or 2, I think, so it's actually been more than 5 weeks, I'm not sure. This update is going to be covering week 1 through 5 for me of actually actively doing this, and this excludes the week 4, which is supposed to be doing an eye look using all of the stuff from the previous 3 weeks, which is what you're supposed to be doing. So what I do instead is every weekend I have a different palette that I use and then I have my thoughts on it. So my first week was using the Urban Decay single shadows that I have. I used the top 3 here. I'm just gonna pull them out. I used Midnight Cowboy, which is a nice, like, light pink shimmer. Oops, I almost stabbed it. I used Lost, which is like a brown, and then I used Midnight Rodeo. This is actually a warmer taupe. It's a warm taupe, I guess, but it's a shimmer. I was expecting it to be like a regular taupe or a cool taupe, which it's not, so that's one thing I learned from using these, is that works better with the warm taupe crease. I still prefer cool tones with it, just not super cool tones, if that makes sense. I do have 2 eyeshadows at the bottom in Easy Baked and Bust that I didn't end up using, so if I rotate back to this palette, I will use those. I did that palette before I bought the NYX glitter primer, which is very much like a push-up bra for eyeshadows. It makes shimmers a lot better, so I might have to retest them all before I can give my final thoughts on that palette as a whole, because now whenever I use Urban Decay singles or palettes, I use that. The same goes for week 2, which was of the Naked 2. I vaguely remember using this. I know I put Verve all over the lid and Bust like in the outer corner. I think I used one of these shades all over the lid. I might have used Half Baked, but I actually don't think I did. I'm not sure. Or I used Verve both days. I don't really have any new thoughts on it because I've been panning it, so that's why I don't really remember. And also because that was a little while ago. For week 3, I have the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea palette. This is the original, or number 1. This one, I also wanted to mention, the packaging doesn't last. The gold comes off over time, so if the packaging is drawing you in, I would make note of that. So this is what it looks like at the moment, because, well, okay, so I finished these 2 shades last year. I finished this one last year, I think, too. This one, I actually hit pan on. So this is what that one looks like right now. It is a really gross texture in terms of application and the way it feels, and that translates into it looking strange. I'm wearing it today as a highlight. I don't know if you can see. These eyeshadows, the shimmers and the mattes, the best way I've described them, I think I talked about this in the intro, they're like expired cream eyeshadows. It's like if a cream eyeshadow started to feel powdery rather than a powder that feels creamy, which is a good thing. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell. Obviously, this is where it was, and there's a ton of powder. It gets everywhere because it just, I don't want to demonstrate because then I'll waste product, but it just, you stick your brush in and it goes, and if you look closely, it kind of looks like rocks have crumbled off like the side of a cliff. It looks crumbly, like, because it is. It's a really crumbly formula, and that's part of the reason why I hit pan so quickly. Like, my whole palette every morning is covered in powder. This is actually pretty light coating right now. I think I blew some of the powder off this morning, and that's why. But it does give a slight sheen, so that's why I've been using it. When I used this for this project, I used Wave all over the lid, and I used Starfish all over the lid, I think. I like Wave. I wish it came in like an ultra shimmer formula because it's my favorite kind of lid shade. I'll swatch it for you. This is actually a really pretty color. It sort of reminds me of MAC Satin Taupe, but I don't think they're dupes. That's right here. And Starfish is a dupe for Urban Decay Smog, which I'm wearing right now, which is also a dupe for a lot of other eyeshadows because it's a very common bronzy brown, medium brown. And they kind of have a slight sheen. I would describe them as satins, but again, they have this really gross texture. When you feel them, they don't feel... It's like a mixture between chalky and dimethicone. It's so strange. As much as I like the colors in this palette and I wanted it to work out, I can't recommend this because the quality is so poor. And it's not that it's so poor that there's no pigment. Like, clearly there's pigment that comes off. It's just the application doesn't, they don't look as good on the eye, and they don't look as pigmented on the eye because they have a very strange formula. I haven't used them wet, I don't think.
But, at my school there are these geese who, like, I don't know if you've ever seen geese in real life, but they're actually kind of big, like, compared to pictures. They're like the size of toddlers, and they walk around in, like, gangs. I don't know what the, like, term is, but, like, there's, like, a pack of them. There's, like, 7 just walking past my window, and they're just, I feel like they're kind of evil. Geese are known to attack people. I mean, obviously they're not evil, but, like, they're kind of evil. So, like, I don't know, they scare me.
For week 3, I used my Natasha Denona. I think they're just called the 5 eyeshadow palette, or on here it says eyeshadow palette 5, and mine is in palette 02, if you can read that. When I did my first impressions of this palette, I called the last shade Macaroon. It says maroon. I just can't read, I guess, so I've been thinking it's macaroon this whole time, and it's not. This is what this looks like. I was watching Brandy and Amanda's live stream last night, and somehow we got on the topic of, I sent Amanda a text or DM on Instagram about the new Too Faced palette. So that's a very warm tone eyeshadow palette, and so we were talking about that in the live stream, and I mentioned to her that I didn't think she would like it that much because I don't like warm tones, so I don't think of them as something people would really love, like go crazy over, because she was like, she was mad at me because I made her want a palette, which, oh well. So I told her I just don't think oranges and reds look good on me, and she said she wants to see me in them, so I sent her screenshots of my Instagram posts where I'm wearing these two. One of them, I think this one on the lid, this in the outer corner, and then like this in the crease. I sent her pictures of me in that, and she said, yeah, you look better in cool tones. And I was like, same. I'm not going to insert the pictures because they're kind of ugly, but like, for some reason, oranges and reds on my eyes make me look ill. And I know that depending on who you are, the colors that do that are going to be different. I know some people with a deeper skin tone than me will say that cool tones actually make them look dead. On me, I think they look fine because I'm already like corpse pale. I mean, not really, but almost. So it looks okay, but warm tones, you would think adding warmth to the face is going to add life to it, but for me, it just looks almost puffy, even like just puffy, sick eyes. So, and like I talked about in the first video, I bought this palette under the impression it was cool tone because when I swatched it in store, it looked cool tone. There's even a shade called Lavender Gray, and like lavender is like a purple, gray is like a gray. So how do you come up with like basically a warm shade? Like, so, okay, when you look at the most pigmented part, you can kind of see like the purpley tones, but then when you get to the farther out blended out part, you can see the warm base to it, and that's what shows through on the eyes. So it's not my favorite shade, although I will say this is like a really pretty swatch and it does translate like this onto the lid. My favorite shade though, which is the one I wore on my lid the first or the second day, I don't remember that I used this. This is Light Coral. I'm building it up because I messed it up, but here's the swatch. I will probably, the next time I use this palette, post a photo with this. This is a really beautiful lid shade and it worked well over the NYX primer, so I'm really happy with that. And then this in the crease is just, I think this might be the culprit as to this sick puffy part, and then oranges just don't look flattering on me. As much as I talk about how these are only worth the cost if you're going to go through them, and how I wouldn't necessarily recommend them, I do see myself buying one of her singles or buying another one of these palettes in a different color range.
So, Natasha Denona posted a picture on Instagram. The brand, or the person, I'm not sure which, it might be the same account, but there was a picture of the swatches for the Camel palette. And when I looked at it, it was basically cool tone neutral browns. And I was like, that's beautiful. My friend, Jessica Rose Beauty? I get it wrong every time. I think it's Just Rose Beauty. Yeah. She tagged me in it, and then so I was like, oh my god, I need it, whatever. So then they posted pictures of the palette itself, and it was like camel brown colors. It was like very warm brown, like kind of like what I'm wearing now, which is fine, but like I'm a little confused as to if it's a cool tone, or if it's a warm tone palette, or if it's a neutral, like somewhere in between warm and cool neutral palette. I'm not sure, but as long as it's not too warm, I might actually get that, because so far the mattes, I like them, and the shimmers are actually really nice.
I have decided I like cool tone purples. I will show you an example later, but I don't like this kind of purple, but I mixed it with a blue and I actually liked that, so that's how I'm going to wear it from now on. So my thoughts so far is, when I used this, it made me like the formula more, but the colors just aren't my colors. However, I got myself into this issue where I asked for this as a gift, and I got it as a gift. So now, I don't feel comfortable selling it or giving it away, so I will be panning it at some point. And I know that's like the opposite of what I would encourage people to do in this situation, but like, I would rather put myself through that and get through it, because I don't hate the shades on me. It's just, I can't wear them all together. I have to wear one of them with other eyeshadows that are of different undertones to make it work for me. For last weekend, I used my custom palette. Again, this is from the Etsy brand Another Soul, which I really like. And if you're looking for a custom palette, I would recommend her. And this is in the shade, I don't know what you, Design White Queen. I think it's number 7, and I really like it. And then, oh, this is what the back looks like. I don't know if I showed it before. And this is the front. It's made out of paper, but it doesn't feel like paper. I don't know how to explain it, but it wipes clean easily, I find so far. But it doesn't look like someone glued paper to it. I don't know what kind of paper it's called. It's like the expensive kind, I don't know. Okay, so let me get to the point. I have a few things to say. One, this is the kind of purple I like. It's cool toned. It's not in your face purple, so it's like a neutral. When I was wearing maroon from the Natasha Denona palette, I would use this blue with it, or that one. They're the same eyeshadow, just different pans. So for the 5th week, I used my Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette, which is up in this corner. I'm sorry, I don't know how to hold this. I don't want my shadows to fall. So it has Zone, Anaheim, Harajuku, or Harajuku. I'm not sure how to say it now. Punk, Serious, and Evidence. Or no, it's called Danger in this palette, but it's Evidence, which is a permanent shade, which is the same as this one from the Smoked palette. So if you're looking for it, that's the shade you should be looking for. My conclusions on this, which I talked about on Instagram, is that I like the shade Anaheim and Punk and Serious. I like these two mixed together. I think that looks really cool. But the problem with Urban Decay eyeshadows is they don't blend as well as other ones. So if you do, let me show you an example. If you take a blending brush and you're doing circular motions, you're gonna get patchiness. I don't really know how to show you. Let me do it on my arm. This is a Coastal Scents BR250, brush 250, I think. So this is the shade Punk.
I'm just blending it this way so I can see what I'm doing. So if I'm blending, it might actually work different because I didn't put a primer down first, and I always do primer. I do primer and then I set it with an eyeshadow. So usually I would actually build it up a little, going like back and forth, and then I would swirl to try and blend it. Okay, so
I was doing circular motions. It was like a solid line going this way, but now, if you can see where I did the circular motions, I have product buildup above and below, and I have a little gap. So you end up with patchy on your crease. So imagine this is the, I did it backward, but imagine the top here is the deepest part of the crease, and down here is where it's blended up. You will end up with patches going like vertically, sometimes a little diagonal. It really doesn't matter which direction, but basically it just gets patchy, and they just don't blend as well as other things. I've talked about it all the time, but I'm gonna reiterate my favorite mattes, which I think are the best mattes you can get, aside from indie brands I haven't tried, are the Anastasia ones. I really like, what is this? Nude, Stone, and Warm Taupe, Hot Chocolate. I also have Bon Fresco, but this one's like a little pink and I don't like that, so I don't really use that one, but I need to. And then Viseart mattes. As I said on my Instagram, my eyeshadow was so patchy in my crease the day I was using those. I didn't even want to take a picture to show because I was just so embarrassed with the way my face looked. And makeup should not make you feel embarrassed about how you look. It should do the opposite, if anything. So, the way that I make Urban Decay mattes work is I do sandwiching with good mattes. For example, say I want to use Anaheim as my crease shade. The first thing I'm going to do, primer, set the primer with a eyeshadow from a brand that has good mattes, such as Viseart, Becca, Anastasia, something close to the skin tone or a little lighter so it can work as a brow bone highlight. Then take a really good transition shade. For me, that would be Nude or Stone. Blend that really well. Make sure you get a really nice blend between the brow bone highlight / setting shade and the transition, because that's what you're going to leave. You're not going to bring the crease shade all the way up there. You want that to handle the outermost blend, so when people look at your makeup, that's where they're going to see the line between crease shade and not crease shade. Then you're going to take Anaheim and very carefully do back and forth windshield wiper motions and try to, so normally when I want to blend my eyeshadow up, I do circular motions. But with these, instead of going like this and sort of bringing it up, you're going to move back and forth, but then you're going to sort of move down as you do it and go back and then move down again. I'm sorry if that's a bad demonstration, but that's what I've found works best to raise the crease up a little more. And so that's the step where you want to use your Urban Decay eyeshadows. And then to deepen, now you might want to go into one of these and deepen it that way, but that's where you're going to start seeing crap like this on your eye where it's like patchy and like disgusting. So what you want to do is take a dark shade from a brand that has good blending, such as Hot Chocolate. I'll show you actually these next to each other. They're not dupes, they're very close. Punk is a little more red. They're actually on the eye the same depth, but so you want to take a shade like Anastasia Hot Chocolate and you want to blend that and just blend it however you like to blend those battered mattes, and then it should be good. That's what I do for the eye look I'm wearing right now. Up here, if you can see, that's where my Beckham mattes are. So I took the brow bone shade all the way up to here, then I have my transition, then I put Urban Decay Buck from the Naked palette, and then I have a dark brown from the Becca palette. And that's basically how I keep the matte from ruining the eye look, but it also is the main crease shade. It's the color you're going to see the most of, and that way you can use enough product that you can actually pan eyeshadows if you want, and you can actually get the color without having to put up with crappy eye looks.
So what I see a lot of people do is I'll take the Punk shade again. They'll take a smaller crease brush and go back and forth to apply color wherever they want in the crease. Let's say they do windshield wiper motions, something like that. So you got your color laid down. And then this can be a little different depending on how you do your makeup, but I would dab a tiny bit into that shade. And then I would try to do circular motions to blend it up, back and forth and then up. I'm working on it. They also take a long time to blend, no matter what technique you use.
I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. It has moved up a little bit, but as you can see, it doesn't like to move. So when you use them, you really have to know exactly where you want them to go, and you have to, when you're doing the windshield wiper motions, almost blend where you want it as you're applying it. So like I'm doing it lighter, I put less product on, and I'm building it up. And so in the crease I'd be going like this, but then I'd be sort of moving it up a little. So it looks bad, but this would be deepening the crease, so there would already be crease shades on there. Part of the reason that I'm on an eyeshadow no-buy is I want to get through some mattes, and obviously I have a ton more shimmers, so some shimmers before I get any more, because I'm either going to need to finish these or get rid of them, whatever. This weekend, starting tomorrow, I'll be using my Viseart Cashmere palette, and I don't even know what comes after that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. Should I do like a favorites from each one, or for like a favorite? I think the Natasha Denona. Ooh, should I rank them? Okay. So between these two, Natasha Denona has a great shimmer quality, and I can't really test the mattes because it's only one. It works fine though, it seems. I would rank this quality over the Naked 2 because the shimmers on this haven't held up. However, in terms of color, I love the cool tones in here, so yeah, I would do 1, 2. And then I would say my single shadows. That's also why when I have single shadows like this, I don't buy the mattes. These are all shimmer, and this is a satin. So that would be number 3. Between these and the Gwen Stefani palette, I'm gonna be honest with you, they're the worst I own. These I actually didn't realize how much I didn't like them until this. shimmers are easier to make work. These are really bad. I would have to say they're equally as horrible. They're not something I would recommend. Here's the thing though. When I first got the Gwen Stefani palette, I was using it and it worked fine. So it's possible that these are worse because they're older. I really liked the palette for a number of reasons, but when you really break it down to how good are Urban Decay mattes, they're just not. So I wouldn't buy those, and I definitely wouldn't buy Tarte shimmers. Tarte, I'm gonna have to say this is worse, only because if you take into account the 2 mattes that are gone, those were were they the worst mattes? Them, and I had an Ulta single shadow from a discontinued line that was a matte that was really bad. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Tarte has the worst mattes coming from this palette. So I would have to do Gwen and then Tarte as my official ranking. And that's everything. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.